I got married, I got diagnosed, and I become paralyzed. So it just happened so quick. And like I said, I was in denial. I felt broken. I felt lost. So I knew God exists, but I never had that experience with God. Like, my Jesus, he's kind of crazy like me. Like when I go crazy, he'd be like, yo, you need to calm down. It's not even that serious. Like, I don't know how you do it. So I asked God, why me? And the answer was just like, life changing for me. It was that night that changed all my life.
So, Sherlyne, once again, thank you for answering my call for this interview. It's been a long time since I wanted to have this recorded discussion, because we've discussed about that many times. And I remember one particular event when we really spoke about how the trials that we had in our lives really, it didn't define us, but it really changed us very deeply.
Yeah, it shapes us.
Exactly. Yes. And I wanted to have this conversation and share it with other people who may go through struggles, trials, or health issues as you are. Mm-hmm. And so my first question for people who don't know you, well, who are you? Where you're from? What is your background story?
All right, so my name now is Sherlyne Chéry André. I'm still not comfortable with the André, but that's my married name. But I still go by Sherlyne Chéry. I was born in Haiti. I moved to Montreal, Canada when I was 6 years old. And I grew up in Canada until I was 24. And then I moved to Florida because I met who's now my husband. I met him and then I just moved here. I have two wonderful kids. They're annoying, but they're wonderful. And that's basically it. I'm just I love people. When I love hard. So that's kind of like a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I'm a family woman. I spend a lot of time with my kids, my husband, my neighbors, church, and things like that. I work from home. I love it because like this, I have the flexibility to spend time with the kids. I didn't know that flexibility would have to be really specifically planned, because when you have kids around, they just don't understand the concept of I'm on the phone with somebody. It's just really my 5-year-old, but you get to work around it. So that's me. I'm very spontaneous person. I'm bubbly. I'm very friendly. My husband said I'm too friendly because he's introverted. I'm extroverted. So he balances me when I'm like too out there. And when he's not in too much, I bring him in. So we make a good balance. So that's me.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. We know each other. We've known each other for many, many years. We won't put numbers because,
I know they're going to figure it out. Yeah. We've known each other since we were babies. Okay.
That's it. And so I know who you were and what happened to you, but just tell us what kind of person you were, what were your interests, what you used to do when you were a teenage, young adult. Who were you back then?
Well, I've always been this outgoing person. I like to be around people. And when I was younger, I was always into sports, everything that moves. I'm very hyperactive. So I did soccer, I did dance, I did track, I played basketball, and I was just this type of child that kept myself busy all the time because, first I wanted to keep myself busy because I really thought that I had something missing. I was like, I'm outcast. And I'll explain why later, but so I kept myself busy, by doing sports and dancing. That's the best way to meet people. And that's how I met you actually at school, doing all these activities. And that's the type of person I was, very outgoing, very active. That's the type of person that I was before I got sick.
Right. And then what happened?
And then you know, when you like active and you always out, I was never the potato couch type of person, like to just sit there and not do anything. So it was hard for me because I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, but mine was like a different kind because first I was young, and I know that there's juvenile um arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis for juvenile, but never like the way it happened to me. It really started with a finger that hurted me, and I was like, back in when I was in Montreal, I was in my 20s. I had to start living by myself at a young age because I have no mom and dad that was around. They're here, but they're not in my life. So, you know, living with people, even if it's family, even if it's an uncle or auntie, at some point they tired of you. Like it was my experience. So I felt the pressure when I was getting close to 18. I felt the pressure of like, you're a big responsibility, and you know, I have kids and you gotta go. So I felt the pressure. So I was like, at a young age, I understood that I was gonna be, I was gonna have to take care of myself. I couldn't really depend on people. I didn't have mommy or daddy to buy me stuff and stuff like that. So at a young age, I understood that I had to take care of myself. So I was working a lot. I was working two jobs, and I was trying to finish my deck that they call in Montreal, which is my college degree. So it was really hard. So I thought that because I was working so much, that's what caused for me maybe to have this little pain. So that's how it started. So I didn't really put emphasize on it because I was like, oh, maybe because I work too much, you know.
Mhm.
But I was never the type of person that was sick. I was never sick. Maybe like, you know, period cramps
Right.
once in
I
a while,
remember
but
those.
yeah, but never
Because
like
yours
sick.
were bad.
Oh,
I
mine
remember
was so
yours
bad.
were bad.
Like the world will stop turning, and that's it. Like I was not operational for like the 3 or 4 days. Don't talk to me. I
Right.
was really in bad pain. But beside that, I never had like, you know, went to the hospital, had surgeries, none of that, you know.
Yeah, you were pretty energetic.
Yes, pretty healthy, pretty
Right.
energetic, and I was slim to the
Hmm.
point that I wanted to gain weight at some point. I was like, what can I do to gain weight, you know? And I love food because of my friends, my circle of friends. We have that big thing in common. Every time we get together, we
Right.
eat food. And you know, now I'm in the US, but in Canada the food is really good. So we was always eating, and I had no problem with that because I wasn't gaining weight. So it was like fantastic. I can eat whatever I want, and people were so jealous of it. They were like, "How could you eat all this food and you're so slim?" And I was like, "I don't know," but I was exercising a lot, so that could be it. So I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't even go to the doctor because I was like, oh, I'm just tired. So I'm just gonna take some day off. So that's when I started to travel to Florida a lot. So like every like month or so, I had the schedule where I worked 4 days and I had 3 days off. So I would like every month or so I would take like that extra day and I would go to Florida for 4 days. So I would go to Florida a lot to the point that I traveled and everything. And then it started to get worse. It started to, you know, go to my waist and then my arms. And I started to feel like my body was aching. But again, I thought it was okay, I need a little more, I need to stretch more or I need to rest more or whatever. To the point that it was getting worse. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go see the doctor. And then the doctor, they even took long to diagnose me, and I think that's one of the reasons why it got so bad because they didn't think that it was rheumatoid arthritis because I was so healthy, and so they took long to diagnose me. It took like a good 6 months, 6 months to a year to diagnose me to say, okay, you have rheumatoid arthritis. And once I got diagnosed, it was automatically they put me on steroids. But you know, at my 20s, I don't know nothing about health, and I don't have no guidance. I don't have no mentors to tell me, oh, don't do this, do that. And so they put me on it. I felt better, so I got on it. Never knew that um, prednisone, which is steroids. Well, when you start taking it, you just blow up. So
Right.
my skinny self just blew up, and with that it put pressure on my joints, and
Right.
I didn't know all of that was going on. So by the time I got diagnosed that I knew that I had rheumatoid arthritis, a year, not even like within that year, I became paralyzed because
Wow.
I didn't know much about the disease. I didn't understand it, so I didn't do anything but taking that prednisone, and it wasn't enough to the point that I had like my knees were like swollen, and they had to get a big needle to get just the liquid out of it.
Wow.
But within like months, I was paralyzed from neck to my ankles.
Okay,
It's
for
just
those of us who don't know what this disease is, or if it's a disease or a symptom, what it is exactly, how can
so
you explain it in your own words?
sure. So rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. So some way, somehow, my system just kind of panicked and start attacking my immune system.
Okay.
And when it starts attacking the immune system, the first thing it attacks is all the joints, all
Right.
the main joints. So, like those and my wrist and elbow. But me, I was more paralyzed in my knees. My knees were the worst. That was mostly affected. So, but it crept in so quickly that I didn't even get a chance to really understand because I was also in denial. I was like, no, this is not happening to me. Like, somebody that goes out every day, outgoing, go to the beach, go roller skating. And then now I have to stay home and do nothing, and I'm paralyzed. And I'm not the type of person who asks for help because, like I said, I've always known that I got to take care of myself. So I never was good at asking for help, and I was never good at letting people take care of me.
Okay. And what is when you're saying that you were paralyzed? Okay, are you saying that you were paralyzed like just, when you say, "Oh,
I,
it hurts so much that I can't move,"
no,
or
I
is
couldn't
it
move. I was on bed rest for days. And
okay?
it happened a few months after I got married. So it was all confusing. So I got diagnosed, I got married, I got diagnosed, and I become paralyzed. So it just happened so quick. And like I said, I was in denial. I was like, this is not happening. So I didn't really, in my head, I was just saying, no, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. So I didn't
Right.
do anything. So I just stayed there and it just crept on me.
Right.
So here I am, paralyzed, newlywed, with this awesome guy. So I told him, I said, listen, I don't know what's going on. I felt broken. I felt lost. So I said, I don't know what's going on with me, but I don't want you to get into this. It's like we just get married. We don't even know each other. It's not like we dated and we were friends. Like I met him when I was on vacation, so I didn't know him. So I
Right.
said, listen, it's not fair to you. You young, you handsome, you a good person. Just move on and let me take care of this, whatever it is that I'm dealing with. Let me take care of it, but I don't want you to be responsible for me.
Right.
And well, apparently the vows of, for better or for worse, he took it seriously. So he was like,
That's
no, I
pretty
want
good.
to, good for me, right? So he told me, no, I'm not going anywhere. Whatever it is, we're gonna figure it out. And at that time, too, my faith was not, I've heard about God. Back when we was at Dunton Academy, like we had this group of people that go to church. You went to church. I heard you talk about it, and I even like come to visit your church a few times, so I knew God exists, but I never had that experience with God.
Right.
Knowing that God exists and really having that experience with God is like two different dimensions. It's
Right.
it's not
But
even comparable.
hold on a second on that. Hold your thought. Just want to go back to the moment when you realize that you finally have put your life together. So you moved from Montreal, where you didn't feel quite at your place, because you were
Yeah.
saying at the beginning that you were trying to find your place,
Yes.
your ex, like we say here in Montreal, the place where you feel like you're at the right spot, right?
Yeah.
And so you moved from Montreal to Florida, and
Hmm.
then you meet that awesome person
Yes.
to whom you married. You get
Yeah.
married to that person, and then you're finally
Yes.
seeing the light to the tunnel,
Yes. Yes.
and then you get paralyzed. And when you're saying
Yes.
that you're paralyzed, it's like you
That
can't not move. It's your
from head to
block.
toes. Like if I want to go to the bathroom, I was like a branch, like flat. So if
Right.
I want to go to the bathroom, he would have to flip me over and just and put me literally on the to go to the bathroom. So I couldn't
Right.
even walk.
And so all of a sudden you're handicapped,
Yes.
and you have to explain to your newly husband that,
Yeah.
well, you know what, I don't know what to expect. I don't know anything about this new illness, this new disease that I have, and so if you want out, you
Yep.
can go out. And
Yeah.
so at that point, I want to know, how did you feel? How
Well,
what was going through your mind, and how did you feel deep inside when you finally thought that, well, you know what, things are going good right now, they're going on the right track. So how do you feel when you have to face
I
this
felt,
thing that you cannot control?
yeah. Well, I felt overwhelmed by the disease mostly, but the relationship part, I felt like I never had a chance in a relationship in ways like
Mm.
whether it's with my mom, my dad, all the exes, crazy exes. I never had a chance anyway, so it's just another failed relationship. It wasn't a big deal for me at the time. The disease was more overwhelming. I was like, let me just try to focus on this and whatever. I didn't really care about the relationship in my head. But I
Right.
just thought, yes, it wasn't gonna be like easy. Like I'm just letting you go. I was like, man, I finally have this good guy. I felt like he's compatible. Like he was made, custom made for me, and I have to let him go because it's not fair for him. I feel like he could do better. Like you do, you could meet. He's still young. You could meet another person and just get married and have a family. And the doctor had already told me at that point that I wouldn't be able to have kids. He was like, look at you. You already know you can't have kids, right? Because you can't take care of kids. You can't barely take care of yourself.
Right.
So I told him that too. I said, you know, we won't be able to have kids. So what's the point? Just if you want out, I'll be sad, yes, but I'll understand. I was really understanding in that part because I was overwhelmed with the disease and I understood that I was willing to let him go.
And then comes your spirituality. So you were saying that you didn't really quite have a relationship with God,
Yes.
but in this season,
Yeah.
something happened.
Yeah.
Or
So at that point when I told him that, but he was always the church boy, he would go to church every Sunday, but not just going, but he really believed in God. He really believed that whatever was happening to me, it was a learning curve. I said, a learning curve? That's a very painful learning curve. But he really explained that concept to me. He was like, no, I really believe that there's something that we could do about it, and that there's a reason why you're going through this, and we're going to figure it out together. I was like, this guy is crazy. I've never heard stuff like that before. It was just like, I've never heard that level of faith before. I've never experienced it before. So I was like, he's crazy. I don't know what he's talking about. But yes, and it was true. So we started to pray together. We started to fast together. While he was taking care of me, he was taking a lot of time off to take care of me, plus my aunt, because I have an aunt that lives in Florida. And she actually was one of all the people that I lived with, that I was bounced around. She was the only person that I felt that really loved me. So she took care of me while he was at work. She was taking care of me, and then when he came, he took care of me. So we fasted together, we prayed together, and he started to research about the disease, and we find out that if I change certain things that I was eating, just that really like kind of got me back. So I found out that if I eat pork, forget it. I would like eat pork and be paralyzed the next day, literally. So I stopped eating pork. So I gave up my griot. And that was really the first time I understood about fasting because I heard about it. I even tried it, but I was trying it to lose weight
lose weight.
or to look good. It was for my I never understood it that way. By giving up something that you really like, you really giving space for God to work within you.
Right.
And that was my first experience with that. Giving up griot, giving up steak, and all the good foods that I like was really that experience. To giving up something that I really like, so that I can have that experience with God. And that's when I started to experience God for the first time.
Okay.
And things started to work from there.
Okay.
spiritually and for my health and all that.
Okay. And so now you're talking about we're back 10, 12 years ago,
That was 13 years ago.
13 years ago. And
Yes.
so you meet that guy. He sort of introduced you to a new way of thinking about your relationship with God.
Yes.
You
Yes.
nurture that relationship with God. And then you start to find some solutions concerning your illness, your disease, as of how to
Yes.
eat well and with your spirituality as well.
Yes.
But
But that's
there's
just a
still the
start.
illness. The illness is still
Yeah,
there.
that's just a
And
start. That, sometimes you take that decision to walk with God, right? And you think that, okay, I took the decision. Now everything should be okay, right? Oh, no. It does not work like that. And I had to learn it the hard way that it doesn't work like that. And so it was just the beginning, but I
right,
still was in pain. I still was crushed by the fact that I'm married to this guy. I can't even give him kids and we young. I was mad that he was around because if he wasn't around, then I would have to deal with that. But he was around and I had to deal with that, and I was mad at it. So I asked God, why me? Like I was so desperate. Like one night, I cried, 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 cried. I sobbed, and I asked God, why me? And the answer was just like life changing for me. It was that night that changed all my life. God told me, I need you. There's something that is I need you to do, but you cannot do it as you. There are so many changes that you have to go through before you are that person that I created to do those things that I need you to do. So yes, you're gonna have to go through a lot of stuff, but the good news is that I will be with you every step of the way. And every trial and every challenges that you will go through, they will be hard, but at the end of those challenges, you will be so much wiser, so much stronger, so much better. And that's the person that I need. I need that person to for a special mission. And I was mad too because I was like, choose somebody else because I don't want to go through all this crap. I just want to be this person that I was before. But and sometimes you are in that life and you think you're in the good life. I'm healthy, I'm young, I'm pretty, I'm sexy, and you think that's it. And God is saying, "No, I got so much more for you." And he's bringing you through all these this path, and along this path there are so many challenges, and they get harder and harder. You get out of one and you're like, okay, I should have a little break, right? But then something else comes up, and then you realize, oh my goodness, my growth, it's a journey of growth.
right.
I am so happy of the person that I am today. I can handle so much more than before. And I thought I was strong by then. I was like, oh, I'm strong. I'm independent. I was that type of person and I thought I was really strong. But no, I was so weak. And it's okay to be weak because that means you have to realize there's a time that you have to realize that you need him, that he is that extra. You are just an ordinary person and he put that extra touch. He is the only one that can put that touch.
Right.
And for him to put that touch, you have to let him. And I think it's a hard part for a lot of people to just let him. Sometimes
Mhm.
you have to stop and just let him. Sometimes you
Mhm.
want to take the wheel. You say, I got this. I can do this. No, trust me. He will let you know the things that you got. And even though you think that some things you're doing on your own, he's right there,
Right.
pushing you through, opening doors, um, that you didn't even know that were there, making ways, working the background, things that you don't see, you don't know.
Right.
And that's how I started to change my mentality about stuff that were happening to me,
Right.
and starting to see things as opportunities instead of it's not everything that comes to destroy you.
Mhm.
Certain things come into your life to make you grow.
Wow.
So that's what I had to go through. And I'm still going through it. It's just that now I know, like, when something comes up, instead of going like, oh no, not again, I'll be like, okay, all right, I know that there's a reason why I have to learn this.
Wow.
I'm gonna use it at some point, and it's gonna be a wonderful journey.
Wow.
So
And
I
I like the
learned
fact that you're saying that it's not everything that comes to destroy you. And
to
it's the
break
feeling that
you.
we have when we have to face trials.
Yeah.
I mean, when you lose someone dear, or you lose your health, or
Yes.
something very important, you
Yes.
feel that it comes to destroy you, but it's not
Yes.
necessarily the intent of it. So I
Yes.
really like that you mentioned that. And so I wanted to go back also on the fact that you were saying that God shaped you. You said it's one of the first things that you said when we started
Yeah.
talking, that He shaped you through the sufferings. And you mentioned that you had to give up some stuff to make space for Him to work. And so, what are the other ways that He shaped you? What are the other step that you had to take in order to be to become the person that you are, or still becoming?
Well, everything from my character, my behaviors. I had really reckless behaviors before because I didn't care. I thought, like I said, I always thought that I was this misfit. This I wasn't supposed to be there because my story is my mom and my dad had me, and then they just went their separate ways, and they had families, and I was never part of either of the families. And I grew up thinking, well, my mom doesn't want me, my dad doesn't want me, and they're there. And growing up and having all your friends, they have at least a mom or a dad or both. So I thought that something was wrong with me.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna ring it, and whatever happened, happened. So I had that careless mentality, like I don't care, so what mentality. So I wasn't taking care of myself. I thought I was by exercising and stuff, but really, like, my behaviors were destructing
Right.
behaviors. So God taught me why He wanted me to change that.
Mhm.
He taught me that this body is just a body. Yes, it has arthritis and has all these other things, but I want you to take a break with this body. I want you to lay it still for a while. Don't worry about it. And let's work on here. Let's work on here. Let's work on your spirituality.
Right.
And that was the challenge. So I had to learn to forgive my mom. It was the hardest part. I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress now. So, but there was other stuff that I had to forgive myself, and that's the hardest part because a lot of times we blame people, right? It was like, well, it's my mom's fault because she abandoned me, so that's why I have this life. It's my dad's fault. It's everybody's fault, but at some point we have to say, you know what? I have to forgive myself. Yes, I did all the stupid things, but I have to forgive myself. I have to come to a point where I was like, God can change me
Right.
and move me forward. I don't have to remain that person. I could move forward. So I had to forgive myself and just let these things go and move forward. So that was hard for me. So I had to change the way I act. I had to be more patient. I was not the patient type. I wanted stuff today, yesterday. I and I had to learn how to be patient. And my husband, he's like a saint. Like next to him, I'm like he is super patient. He get on my nerves. So he was in my life for a reason. God really specifically chose him. He was gonna be part of the learning. He was gonna be part of my mentor because I had to be patient because things doesn't happen like this. But then when you look back, it's like things doesn't happen quick enough. But then when you look back and you take the time to review all the things that you've been through, you see that, man, things are happening. We are progressing. We are getting better. So I gotta take the time to look back and say, you know what, I am looking better. I am doing better, and be patient because things do takes time to happen.
Right. Um, how is your faith? And it's not really, this is not really my question. My question is, how did you deal with what you had in mind, your desires, your dreams, and what was happening in the present, in the moment of
No,
your
you asked the
suffering of
question
it.
correctly. How was your fate? It was like this. Now it's more constant, but it's still, I still have to remind myself, hey, don't panic now. God got this.
Right. But
And
how did you deal with the fact that the doctor said at the beginning of your marriage that you couldn't have bear children because of your illness, and
yeah,
that you the idea that you have that you had of a perfect family you couldn't have.
yeah.
So how did you deal with that, and how did God come through with with all of this? Because you did have children.
I
So
know,
what
I know. So through all this, God has shown me too that, you know what, you think that you miss the misfit, that you think you're alone, you think that you abandoned, but I was always with you. And He showed me all the path before, and He said, I've been with you here, I've been with you there, I've been with you here, I've been with you there. And then He showed me also that every step of my life, He has always put guardian angels in my life. Like you girls, guardian angels. um it could be like the neighbor. I remember like when I was living in Montreal North, I had that neighbor, and sometimes she would come and talk to me about God. That was my guardian angel. Like there was always a point in my life that somebody came and told me something. And at that point it was my aunt and my husband, because when the doctor said, I remember when I sit there and the doctor said I couldn't have kids, my husband was like, oh, the devil is a lie, man, we all gonna have kids, okay? I was like, and I was so absorbed again by my illness, I was like looking at him like, he's crazy. Like this dude is crazy. He's on another level. I don't understand. So I was like, how am I gonna have kids? I can barely move. He's right. I was like listening to him, but he was like, and then I remember his mom told me something, and she didn't even know about the whole situation. And she was like, you know, people can tell you one thing. Don't ask people first. Why don't you go and ask God first, and God will send you the person that you need to tell you what you need to know. But
Mm,
don't trust people. People don't know. They don't even know what's going on with them. But
mm,
always trust God, because where the doctor is gonna tell you one thing, and bless them. They work hard to be where they are, but at the end of the day, they are God's children too.
right,
So you don't go to them first. You go to the Creator first. You go to your
right,
Father first. So yes, the doctor told me that because he's a professional. With my condition and everything, it makes sense. But it's not everything that makes sense to us. God's reasoning is not our reasoning.
right,
The stuff that we understand with our little mind, what God makes us understand is way beyond that. So
right,
that's what my husband said. And he was like, yeah, he might say that because he's a professional. He has to tell you that. That's what he sees. That's what seems so obvious, but we're going to pray about it. And that's when we fasted so many times. But I remember we fasted, we did a detox, and then I changed my diet for like plant-based diet for like 90 days. We were only eating vegetables, fruits, and nuts for 90 days, and just water, no drink. I love Coke. No, not like Coke, Coca-Cola,
yeah,
Coke.
I know. I know that from you.
I love soda. I love soda and I love juice. It's like I could spend the whole day just drinking juice, and I had to give that up. And I remember after we had the fasting 90 days, 2 months later I got pregnant. And we were trying for like almost 4 years. We was 4 years together without ever having kids. And I got pregnant and I was scared because I was like, I had this voice that said, the doctor's voice that said, no, you can't have kids. I mean, you're gonna suffer, it's gonna be hard. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong, it was hard, but it was possible. So, and then I had the other voices saying, I got you.
Mhm.
There's always God's voice that says, I got you. I'll be there for you every step of the way. And I had a beautiful pregnancy, like because and then I learned that during pregnancy, the hormones, the rheumatoid arthritis hormones, they kind of suppressed. So I didn't have as much pain. So I wanted to be pregnant forever. I was like, oh, come now. So it felt so good. But then after the pregnancy, it was awful. I went through postmortem depression,
Mhm.
and
Postpartum.
yes, it was. awful. I didn't even know what it was until I spoke to somebody and they told me, oh no, a lot of women, more women than you think goes through that. And but I had a good system with my husband, my aunt, my cousins. I had family around, so I had a good system, and that's how I survived it. But it was awful. It was hard. It was hard for the first 2 months. I was okay. After 3 months, I couldn't even take care of my son.
Mhm.
So I had to move back in with my aunt for like a few months so she could help me with the baby because I couldn't take care of him.
Right.
So
And was it
that
both?
was
What was it because of the postpartum, or was it
it was
because of
both.
the illness that was coming back, or
It
was
was
it
coming.
both?
It was coming back full speed, worse than before. So my husband was like, and at that time too, I kind of forget about. And that's the thing. We are so ungrateful as human beings. Like God makes this big miracle for us, right? And we enjoying it, and we already forgot what He did for us, and we already forgot how we got there. So I had to go back. My husband brought me back to be careful what you eat. You know, be careful what you drink. Be careful what you put in your mouth. Trying to exercise even if it hurts. Trying to move around and stuff like that. So I had to go back in that. And surely I went back to my diet. Went back to fasting, praying, spending more time with God, and things started to change again. And I was starting to feel better.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a big learning curve. You always have to remind yourself of, don't forget that what God did for you, because we are quick to forget. We get this big blessing and we are ready to move on. We're like, oh, I can do this by myself, but we still need Him.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in your shaping, you had a lot of brokenness. You were talking about brokenness that you had before getting married, and that you were still working on, and that you are still right now working on, as you were
Yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
forgiveness that you still have to work
Yes.
on
Yes.
in several different of your relationships. And so I wanted to know, where do you see God working in the golden joints? How does He put together
Shaping
all the
everything.
pieces exactly,
Yes.
putting all the pieces together and making it beautiful, making it who you are today?
Well, like I said, it's like my character, my attitude versus things, like towards things, my visions, the way I think about stuff. He changed all of that. So now I grew up to be someone who knows, like, one of the things that through a prayer I got the answer quickly. The fact that I thought that I was abandoned, I was a misfit, and all that. He said, no, don't even forgive your mom because she had nothing to do with it. Before you was even born, I already planned that you wasn't gonna live with her and you wasn't gonna live with your dad. I needed you to go to Montreal. I needed you to have that lifestyle. I needed that to happen. So you don't have to keep that. I had a big grudge against my mom, and it's now I don't have the grudge anymore. I had to forgive her, but sometimes we think that because we forgave, we still have those memories. We didn't forget. We forgive, but we didn't forget. So it's a work in progress. So I still have those scars that it's hard for me to have a relationship with my mom now because I just don't know her. She's like a stranger to me. And she's trying so hard, and it's like the more she's trying, the more I'm pulling back, and it's really hard. But the way that God shaped me is He taught me how to be patient. He taught me how to be respectful of myself. He taught me how to how that my body didn't really matter. That what mattered really is working with the heart and spiritually, like the stuff that you say to yourself, because words matter, words are powerful. So I learned to read more my Bible, and it was so like it was overwhelming for me to read the Bible because it was confusing. I didn't understand anything in it. I was like, why did they say that? Why did they say that? And but he really gave me the guidance to understand through a pastor who really actually explained to me what's going on. So that has really shaped my faith because, like I said, it's one thing to believe in God, but when you're experiencing Him, like I would try little things. Like He said, try me. You just try me, and I would try little things. Like I would lose something in the house, and I would be looking for hours for it, and then I would stop, and He was, and I hear His voice said, try me, and I would say, God, can you help me find my earrings? And I kid you not, within like a minute, I would go somewhere and find a earring. Like stuff like that. He would like start with little things like that. Just try me. And it would be for a job, for example. And I would be like, God, if that's the job for me, just let me know. And be there with me at the interview. And it wouldn't work out, for example. And I would know. I would know that's not it for me. He has something better for me. And that's like, and living with that type of faith is so refreshing because now you understand why certain things don't happen and you don't have to get mad. It's like why I didn't get this job or why I didn't get this man or why he didn't look at me, you know? Now you understand that, girl, trust me, it's for your own good, okay? Like now I started to have that level of faith that okay, if something is not going well, it's because God has something better for me, and it was always that way. You know, so now I get to the second interview and I have another job, and God is like blessing me after blessing, and I understand that okay, this is the job that He has for me. But He always send me somewhere for something that is more than just working there. I've always been that person that gets into people's life and they needed it, and it has been happening to me for years now. It's like I have stories and stories about that, but I realized that I was supposed to be in people's life. Like just like he sent people's in my life, I was supposed to be a blessing to somebody at some point. So I've worked at that job, not it's not a coincidence. I met some people that really needed me at that time. They really needed me to do this and to be that kind of person. You know, I'm bubbly, I'm I'm fun. I like to joke around. I like to make them smile and I really believe that the best way to show your Christianity, to show your faith, is by the way you are. People, people like you special. You know your eyes. They like you have bright eyes and you like so joyful and you make me feel good. You know people don't really people never remember what you did for them, but they remember how you made them feel. So I
Right,
always made people feel good, and I know that I had that as a special gift.
right,
I make people around me feel special. I make them feel good. And God sent me to specific places to meet specific people. Even the place that I live, nothing is a coincidence. I don't believe in that. I believe that even the place that I live now, I'm there for a reason. And I already know it because I've experienced stuff. I'm like, wow, I know that you brought me there for a reason. And
mhm,
to live with that type of blessing is 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 what I'm experiencing right now, and I love it.
right.
That's
And
how he shaped me through the experiences and teaching me how to have him in my life, how to let him take control, to notice him, to be the awareness, because sometimes we get so busy, right? I could be like in the day and I do so much things, I don't take time to spend a few minutes with God. And I know how important it is now that he is that part of me. He is that amazing part of me that I need that source. I need his strength. He is my strength. He's my source. And when I go through the day and I'm busy with the kids, busy cooking, busy, and I don't take that time, I feel empty. I feel like there's something that's missing.
right.
So that's
And
how he's shaping us.
I have to say that well, listening to you, and people don't even know the the details of all the trials that you had to
I
go
know.
through in the past 13 years, and not even, well, more than 13 years,
Yeah.
all your
All my
life,
life, really.
all your life. And it's not even only about your disease, it's also everything else around it.
Yeah.
And but I know, and I
Yeah.
have to say that you have been an inspiration for me, because you're so, it's not even bubbly, you're so positive all the
Yeah.
time. And when I had to see with my own eye um the depth of your suffering, when you couldn't move anymore, when you had to go to the
The
emergency
hospital.
line. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Back and forth to the hospital. Oh my gosh.
it was it was very trying for me, because there I knew you as a friend, as a person, as who you are, being always that,
Outgoing.
outgoing, positive person, bubbly, excited, always, on a good mood. And then seeing you just, your mind was going so in a dark place that I
Yeah,
never seen you before.
yeah,
But even then, even when I saw you there, like right few hours later or even the day after you got
yeah,
back to, and so listening to you, we have that impression that, oh my God, she had that difficult life and it must have been so hard for her, and she must have given nuts so many things, and God has asked her so many things to give up basically, and so it must be so hard to go through with your faith and still believe and still loving God with everything that He has asked from her. Why would I go through all of this? Why would I accept that?
yeah.
So what is your answer about that?
Well, because when you, he is the answer. If you're going through something, it's because he's not there. The trial happens. The trial is going to happen, whether or not you're ready, you're not ready. You believe in God, you don't believe in God. It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to happen around you. The difference is he knows what's coming, and he's
Right.
preparing you for it. When you prepare for the storm, you don't go through the storm as the same that if you're not prepared. If your hurricane comes and you was just chilling on South Beach and you didn't know the hurricane was coming, you in trouble. But if you know in advance that the hurricane is coming, you prepare your food, you prepare your lights, you prepare all everything, then the storm comes and you went through it. So
Right.
that's the difference with having Jesus in your life is he's with you all
Right.
these trials. So I know that, and it's funny that you say that because of people at my job too. Like I was on a wheelchair for like a year, and people were like, "Why don't you stay home?" Because there's this FMLA family leave thing that people use like and abuse. Like, and they're like, "You have FMLA, why don't you stay at home?" And I was like, "No, like I'm supposed to be here." And I'm that type of person. I like to make my own money, so I'm not gonna just stay home and I get paid. I like to work. So I spent a year in a wheelchair, and I would still come and say, "Good morning, hey, how you doing?" Joke with people, and people were looking at me like, "I don't get it." Like I would be so crushed if I had to stay on a wheelchair, and I had to call the security to come get me out of my car and call the neighbor to get me out of my car when I get home, and vice versa. So people were looking at me like, but I said, "No, I'm not alone. I'm not doing this alone."
Mm-hmm.
And I always hear that voice, "I am with you. I am
Mm-hmm.
with you. I am with you." So sometimes I do have bad days, just like everybody else. I do get mad. You know that, Tawi. I get mad. I get pissed, but I never stay. I just can't because that better side of me, it just can't. So you have to decide which side of you want to nourish more. The pissed off side, the one that complains all the time, the one that, or the side that's happy, that knows that everything is going to be okay, whatever that's going on, that knows that everything is going to be okay. And that's God.
Mm-hmm.
God is that strand that is in you, and He wants you to use Him. And God is there sometimes, but we're not acknowledging Him. So we're not experiencing it. We're just, but that's the difference for me is to know.
Exactly. And so trusting God and accepting that to go through the trial didn't change who you were as your personality. You still are the same Sherlyne that I knew like years ago, but it changed your character. And so but
Yes.
sometimes people have that thinking that, oh, you know what, if I'm going through that Jesus thing, well then I'm gonna have to change who I am. And this is not what he has.
No,
It
it doesn't
doesn't
have to
ask
break
that
you.
you change.
It doesn't have to break you.
Exactly. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
break you.
Yeah.
And so this is what I see in you. I still see you as you were when we were children, when we're
I know that
teenagers,
feeling.
when you're still the same. You're still the same, but you grew up. You
Yeah.
became you
I'm
you
more
became that.
mature. I was so
Exactly.
immature before.
Hmm.
Like, especially when it comes to relationship, my husband had to really like work with me there. I was so immature. Like in my head, I got a divorce at least 1,000 times. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. That's the flesh talking. The flesh is so weak. My flesh had got a divorce 1,000 times already. But my spirit, my spirit is the one that says, okay, you need to calm down. not that serious. You know, look at it this way and not that way, because sometimes we just, it's a perception is such, it's so confusing.
Right.
The way that we perceive things, something happened, you can either jump to the bad conclusion or jump to the right conclusion. That was the guidance for me. Like, God was my guidance to be like, it's not what you think it is, and just bear with me and I'll show you another way. And that
Right.
was this for me. My flesh did, my flesh, when my flesh is thinking, I'm this crazy person. I'm ready to
Right.
divorce. I'm ready to let you go. Okay, forget you did. I'm ready to whoop my kids. I'm ready. Yeah. But when it's the spirit is like, no, there's another way. Calm down and let's work on another way. And
Right.
that's me now. Before, I didn't have that part that want to work it the other way. So that's the difference.
And so, if you had something to say to encourage someone who's going through a bad disease, or that just doesn't see the light through the tunnel, for that person right now, it's done, it's over, and they are just thinking about ending it, what would you tell that person?
You have nothing to lose. Give it a try. Try him. God will never let you down. That's the thing. If you say, okay, I give up. What do you want from me? He's listening. But he wants us to do that. He wants us to stop and say, okay, I give up. What do you want from me? I'm not trying to do anything anymore. I just want you. What do you want from me? You have nothing to lose. And he's gonna show you. He has never failed and he's not gonna start now. He will show you. So when you get to that point where, it's just like overwhelming, you've tried everything on your own, obviously it's not working. You need that extra. You need that other level that nobody understands and nobody knows and nobody sees.
Mhm.
You need to experience that. Once you experience it, that's the thing though. Once you experience it one time, it could be a little tiny thing. Once you experience it one time, it becomes like, I want more type of thing. Yeah, it's true. And so you're gonna experience it more and more and more and more and more, and eventually you're gonna break out of that cycle. It's a cycle of darkness that's around you, because the light is way brighter than any darkness. There's nothing that you are going through right now that is too hard, too dark, too horrible, too ugly for God to not work with.
Mm.
So what does that tell you? You have nothing to lose. There's nothing that you're going through right now that he can work with.
Wow.
So give it a try.
Wow.
Say, that's it. And I didn't know how to pray. So my first encounter with God, I was just cursing at him. I'm sorry to say that, but I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to do that thing. So I just started cursing at him. And I was like, why me? This is F up. This is this. I'm tired of this. And then I just started cursing at him like a crazy person. And then he started to reveal himself to me and having those experiences with me, you know. And I don't know how people deal with God, but me, I talk to God like he knows me. Like me, my Jesus, he's kind of crazy like me. Like when I go crazy, he be like, yo, you need to calm down. It's not even that serious. Like, I don't know how you do it, but and I'm like, okay. So that's my experience. Because he know how I am. He know that sometimes I just snap. So he has to snap back at me. He'd be like, okay, you need to calm down for real. Like it's not even that serious. So that's just me. But I'm saying like it doesn't matter how hard it is, like how deep you are in, he will come and get you. And it's so easy because all you have to do is ask.
Mhm.
Like you could be drowning and you say, God, just help me because I really don't know how to. And he'll come and he'll start.
Mm.
And wherever everybody's at different places in their life.
Right.
He's not gonna start with you the way he starts with me. Everybody got their own experiences. He's gonna wherever you are, he's gonna meet you right there. You just have to invite him.
Right.
You just have to invite him. You just have to open the door and let him in because he's right there. He's right there already. And that's another thing he told me is that I've been there for a long time, but you just,
Waiting.
yeah, you just ignore me. But I want to be part of your life and I want to show you what I can do. And when he starts showing you what he could do, girl, that's when you become hooked.
Right. You mentioned earlier that you were on a wheelchair for a year and a half or something like that. And so now, how are you going? Just to let people know what's going on right now with
Yeah.
your
So,
situation.
yeah. So from the diet to taking better care of myself. After I had kids, I gained so much weight that my knees were like really, really bad. And the doctor had delayed a surgery because I'm so young. You know, those surgeries they have to be performed every 25 years. So he wanted to delay it for as later as he could. But it got to the point where my knees were like bones to bones. I didn't have the cartilage in the middle. So he was like,
Right.
okay, we got to do this because you're a young mom, you have those young kids. So that's why I was on the wheelchair because this thing takes long. And I had to do the first surgery. I couldn't do both of my knees, and that's why I was on the wheelchair because I did one knee and I was doing so good after the one knee, but then the other knee was like, I'm jealous. I wanted to. So the other knee was like, I'm not going nowhere until you do it. So that's how I was on the wheelchair for like a year. And then I had did a second surgery, and after the second, and those surgeries are very hard, by the way. It's like it's a bittersweet because you're like, I want to walk, but man, it's really hard. But I did the second surgery, and after 2 years, now it's been 2 years, like exactly
Really?
in December, it's been 2 years since I did the second. No, it's been a year since I do the second, and it's been 2 years since I did the first. So I
Mhm.
have one really really good knee and one that's getting there. So I'm glad because now I can go work out, and now I'm trying to get down on the from the prednisone. So that was my journey from there. So now I'm getting like I was doing good, and then now I had the knee problems. So I was like, oh my gosh, back to being paralyzed. But because I've been in bed rest for so long and I wasn't able to move, when I was in the wheelchair, I was actually grateful. I was like, oh, at least I can move. I can still, I can still move. I can move my legs, but I can still move. So that's why I said that everything that you go through is to prepare you for the next step because there's always going to be a next step, whether you're ready. So being in bed rest prepared me for being in the wheelchair like 8 years after. So 8 years later. So I was grateful actually that I was in a wheelchair and I could move. So you see things differently when you go through certain things.
So you're doing better, and we're very
Yes.
happy about it. From a broken person to another. Thank you. Take care, Ani.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.